Hello, welcome to episode 2
Mm,
of Knitting Between Friends. I'm
Episode
Jillian.
2. And
Here
I'm
we are again, episode 2. This is my dear friend Elizabeth. We have been friends for over 20 years. We have been knitting for even longer than that. And we love to knit and knit together. So we're so excited to join you today to talk a little bit about what we are making this year for Christmas gifts, what we're knitting as Christmas gifts. As mentioned, this is episode 2. If you haven't already heard it, highly recommend to go back and take a listen to episode 1, where we tell you about our initial experiences learning to knit, how our knitting has evolved over the year, and how it has grown along with our friendship. So take a peek at that and then come back here for episode 2.
Yeah.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
what are you knitting for Christmas gifts this year?
Excellent question. So I would say that actually this year is a bit of a lower Christmas knit
Okay.
year. Last year, I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, was a pretty heavy year for me on that front. And I think I just kind of maybe burnt myself out a little bit. But I did, as you know, I had a niece and a nephew born in March of this year. Not twins,
Yeah.
different parents, both my
No.
siblings. Both of my siblings had babies 6 days apart, actually. And so,
Yeah, I do remember that.
yeah, it was an intense time.
Yes.
And so this is the baby's first
Mm.
Christmas, first holiday season.
Mhm.
And so I knit both of them a debutante hat by Sweet Paprika Designs. It's one of those sweet little
Cute.
patterns that has kind of like the point at the top, if you know what I'm saying, and
Mhm.
the
I
tie
do.
with the tie under the chin.
Hi.
hmm
Cute.
yeah, I thought it was a very cute pattern, super accessible, like a very, very simple pattern. So if you're thinking about, kind of trying something that's maybe like a step up from a dishcloth or something like that, would highly
Mm.
recommend this pattern. It was very straightforward, very easy to read, very simple, very mindless. It was also free on Ravelry. And it comes in a bundle, actually. It's a hat. I think it's a hat, mittens, and leg warmers. Um,
Oh,
which
cute.
I
I
know.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're looking for a pattern for baby leg warmers, Sweet Paprika Designs has you covered. Um, and both of the babies have blue eyes. So I went with a navy yarn and I used Blue Sky Fibers worsted sweater weight yarn. And I mentioned this in the previous episode, doing another project with this yarn as well. And I think in that episode, I said that it was all wool. Um,
Mm.
that was misinformation, as it turns out. It is 55% superwash wool and 45% certified organic cotton. Um,
Okay.
it is, again, I will say it again, it is just a lovely, lovely yarn. Really, really recommend it. I've done probably 5 or 6 projects with it, been very pleased with it. It says on the tag that it is machine washable. So
Mm.
it's a real workhorse. And I also
Yeah.
really like supporting the company as well. They
Mm.
use all natural materials and they are just very conscientious about the ways in which they uh, manufacture their yarn and the ways in which they gather those materials. So, um,
That's great.
yeah, it feels like
Nice.
win all the way around.
I feel like that machine washable
Mm.
option for a baby item,
Yeah.
that's key. That has to be key for those mothers and fathers to not feel like it's too precious that they
Yeah.
can't use
Yeah.
it.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And I'm hopeful. My sister-in-law had mentioned that they don't have a winter hat that currently fits their son.
Oh,
Um, Girl, he has just a very large head, as you know, those run in my family. And um, he is just like sized out of baby
Oh
fat.
no.
So they actually have been putting one of their adult hats on him. Um,
Oh
and it doesn't like not fit, if you know what I mean.
yeah. I
So
do.
I made for my niece, who has kind of a more typically sized baby head, I made
Yeah.
the large pattern that was
Okay.
the large size that was listed in the pattern, I should say. And then for my nephew with the large head, I just kind of did some, just made it,
Mm,
just made it a little bigger.
scale
Um,
that.
yeah, I am, it's significantly bigger than the other one. So I am a little curious just to see kind of how that looks on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Well,
it'll be
winter has just begun, and maybe you've given him a little room to grow into it,
mm,
even.
mm. Yeah, that could
It's
be.
very
That could be.
useful.
Yes. And
Mhm.
he also lives in Chicago. So
Mm,
um it is
cold.
winter here and it is cold here for a long time. So
Yeah. He
we're
needs
giving
his
him some
hat.
warmth. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think that is such a nice gift, and I love that you chose a very accessible and manageable
Mm,
um,
yeah.
pattern for those gifts.
Yes.
I'll speak for myself, but I have in the past undertaken a quite laborious
Yeah.
project as a
Yeah.
gift, and that can get old.
It sure can. It sure can, especially with kind of like the timing of like obviously around the holidays, life is just so much fuller in general.
Yeah.
And so it can just feel like there's less time to devote to knitting and maybe just like less mental capacity to devote to a more intense pattern. Um, yeah, and if you're making several things for different people, I mean, in my case, this was only two, so it wasn't really a
It's so,
big whoop,
yeah,
but it adds up on you, right?
it does.
And the deadline is like the same, right? Like if you're making uh I don't know, gifts for different people for their birthdays, then it's spread out a little bit more throughout the year. But
Not so here.
yeah, not so with Christmas.
Yeah, well, wonderful. And I look forward to hearing how those are received. I'm sure they will be warmly received and greatly appreciated
Yeah.
for the cold to come. Yeah,
Girl,
wonderful.
what are you doing this year for Christmas gifts?
Yes. So, as referenced, I have made a lot of Christmas gifts in the past.
You sure have.
I have.
Girl, those stockings. Girl, are you talking about those stockings?
In truth, I think I knit stockings for 2 years, by which I mean I only knit stockings for
Girl,
two years.
terrible. It was so many stockings.
There were so many stockings. They
Yeah,
were color work,
yeah,
as you recall.
girl, I do.
And,
And they'd
and
be lined. They'd be lined. You would knit the stocking in color work and then line it with
they
felt.
were fleece lined.
Yeah.
Yes, they were. They were indeed. And you were here for all of this, so you know, but it really kind of led to just some exhaustion, some knitting exhaustion.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe
Yeah.
some knitting resentment,
Yeah,
Dare.
well, resentment is a word that came to my mind when I was speaking about the stockings. Yes. So I really feel like this past year has been a little bit of kind of learning to
Mm.
re-engage
Yeah, girl, a
with
cleansing. You
a
needed a cleansing.
cleansing, a fresh, like, okay, I'm knitting for myself right now.
Yeah.
What do I want to do? What kind of knitting would feel joyful and life-giving
Yeah.
to me
Yeah. Yes.
in this season?
Joyful and life-giving.
Yes, yes, yes. So to that end, I haven't made any
Okay.
knitted gifts,
Okay.
and I don't know how long it's been since I have made no knitted gifts, and I do feel a little discomfort about it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit with that. That's what I've chosen to do. I will say I did dip a toe in, and I have made, and I think I'll make a few more over the next few weeks, a miniature knitted mitten.
Okay.
I'll put a link to this in the show notes because I am so pleased with how it turned out. It's just about like 3.5 inches tall. It
Okay.
is a miniature mitten.
Okay.
It is tiny. It is a couple of hours of knitting at the
Mhm.
most,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Highly
fun.
satisfying.
Yep, very satisfying knitting. And what I'm gonna do is use these mittens as the holder for the name that goes on the gift. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
girl.
tag on
Yeah, like a little gift enclosure.
a little gift tag.
Oh,
Yes,
that's so cute.
I think it's gonna be fun. It's a way to still have a handmade element to
Hmm.
the holiday
Hmm.
without just investing quite so much into it.
Yeah.
And I will put a little, just a little hook on the top so it could be kept and used as a little ornament
Oh,
if the
girl.
recipient desires. Yeah, so I'm pleased with that. It feels like a really kind of gentle way to
Yeah.
participate.
Yeah.
And I will say this pattern, it's called Mitten Ornament.
Okay.
And it is available on Ravelry. I think it's $3 or $4, but it is also available as a free download
Okay.
um, on the Brooklyn Tweed website.
Mm.
If
Oh,
you
Brooklyn Tweed.
if you sign up for their newsletter, I think there's actually 3 patterns that they send you all together as a bundle as a thank you for subscribing. And this is one of them right now. So highly recommend
Okay.
checking that out and downloading those patterns while this is available. I would have, in hindsight, I would have paid the $4 and happily, but always nice when you're trying out a new pattern if you can do that for free.
Yeah.
So highly recommend that. I just used some worsted yarn. You know what? It's leftover stocking yarn,
Oh,
actually.
oh, we've come full
It is.
circle back to the stockings.
Is the stockings live on this year? They are contributing to this year's mittens. So that's all I'm doing, and I feel really good about it.
Girl, I feel really good about that for you as well. Although I will say, like I mean, I know that the primary purpose here is like a gift tag enclosure, but uh, I mean, you're knitting people ornaments. That's still right, like that's
Yeah,
still a holiday gift or a Christmas gift.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're right. It is. It is. So maybe the little moral here is that you can make a knitted gift that is easy and low
Yeah.
commitment
Yes.
and still really lovely and appreciated.
Yes. And girl, we are well on our way through December this year. And
Yeah.
so realistically,
Yes.
just a PSA to anyone who
Mm.
is listening to this. Like realistically, how is it a good idea to begin a knitted gift
Mm.
project at this time? Maybe, maybe. And also, you know what? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But this mitten pattern seems like it's a good option for those who are maybe wanting to do something like that or have a little bit of
Yeah.
space, but it's less involved than, like it's too
Yeah.
late for a sweater. Don't do a sweater. Don't.
It's even too late for the baby hat, I might say. Maybe you could, but maybe it's too much. I will also say the pattern includes some guidance on different weights of yarn, like which needle to use with which weight, which of course
Oh,
is going
yeah.
to yield a different size mitten, which is adorable as well. And just use 15 yards at the most. So
Yeah.
certainly you have a yarn in your stash that you can use. I'm sure you have the needle you can use.
Yeah.
Easy,
Yes.
quick, easy, free.
Yes. Yes. That is the magic word here. And I'm
Yeah.
also just thinking, I feel like I saw something like this a while ago, but this feels like a really good way to use up some scrap yarn
Mm,
you have because again, like you said, only 15 yards, which is, you're probably not saving yarn. That's much less in
yeah.
quantity than that. Uh,
Mhm.
and I'm just kind of envisioning you could make a bunch of different mittens with different
Yeah.
leftover yarn from different projects and make like a little garland out of it.
Yes. Yes. Adorable.
Yeah.
Adorable. I love that idea. That would be so cute. And what a great way just to clear out some of those
Yeah.
scraps. We were talking about that in episode 1.
Yes.
That can plague you, that leftover yarn.
Yes, it really can. And
Mm.
that could be a way to make this pattern that is not, it wouldn't necessarily have to be like Christmas themed, right? Like you could have a mitten garland up in January, February, and March,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes, it's just winter decor.
Yes, winter decor.
Absolutely.
So there's maybe a little bit less of a time crunch on that.
Yeah.
Um, Something that is really interesting to me about the whole like giving knitted gifts or giving handmade gifts around the holidays is the pressure that we can feel to do it. I think particularly when people know that you're a knitter,
Mm,
and this might be true of other crafts as well. There's kind
yeah.
of this sense of, no, like expectation or something around that at times.
Mm.
Do you feel that way?
I do feel that way a little bit. I do feel that way a little bit. I will say a lot of people in my life are also knitters, and
That's true.
I maybe don't feel that as much with them.
Yeah.
But I made all those stockings, and those stockings went to people who are knitters. So certainly I
Girl,
did feel.
those stockings. Oh my gosh. I'm just like
Well,
having,
how many stockings did I make, Elizabeth? A dozen, maybe more.
girl, you
I
made
don't even
so many,
know.
you made so many stockings. And
So many
for
stockings.
those who maybe aren't aware, knitting a stocking is like not, that's not a pleasant form of knitting,
Mm,
right? It's essentially a sleeve with
yes.
a heel insert,
Yes.
which is a tricky,
Both terrible.
yeah,
Yep.
both terrible. And then also color
Yep.
work, which is not in and of itself terrible, but is
Yep.
in and of itself more laborious.
It is. And I remember being on a video call with you,
Mm.
very similar to this one that we are having right now. And I
Yeah,
was
girl.
just in the depths with these stockings. And you said to me, girl, you're knitting nothing but sleeves. And it was just
Yeah.
an, such a realization of like, ah, that's why this is so hard.
Yeah.
It's just 2 years of sleeves. Who wants to do that?
Yeah. Sleeves are the worst part of a sweater.
They
Everybody
are.
knows. Sleeve Island.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So we've left stocking land, and
Crazy.
I'm not saying never again, but not anytime soon is what I'm
Girl,
saying.
I don't feel like I could handle it. If you got on this call and were like, I'm going to make another stocking, I don't think I could handle it. I would
Yeah.
have to,
You might need to lovingly give me some guidance on that.
girl, an intervention.
Maybe direct me in another way. Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Girl, before we conclude this episode,
Yeah.
I have something here to show you.
Oh, girl.
Girl,
Yes.
I have something here that you knitted and gave to me.
Oh my gosh, girl. What would it be?
Girl, it must be 10 plus years ago.
Girl,
You
is it the
gave
towel?
me, girl,
Oh my gosh. Ah!
girl, you arm knit this.
Yeah, girl, because it was like 2013 and that's what people were doing.
You did. Here it is.
I can't believe you still have that.
I have this. I cherish this. Now, have I worn this in a while? I
Mm,
would say no. Um, but I have it and I love it, and I receive so much just tenderness and affection just from knowing that I have it and that you made this for me. And
mm.
you made this as a gift for a knitter. So we knitters.
I did. I did. Not an arm knitter though. Did you ever do?
I didn't. I haven't. No, I haven't.
Girl, I will say I think that was the only thing that I arm knit.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Then all the more precious is it for being
Yeah.
the one and only arm knit article you have made, and it's quite warm.
Mm.
And then I'm going to take it off. But
Okay.
I did not want to conclude this episode without acknowledging this gift.
Girl, I appreciate that you still have that. And I'm just wondering if maybe a little kind of moral or nugget that we can suss out here is don't make gifts for people who don't appreciate them.
Mm,
And I know that that maybe sounds a little harsh, but
yeah.
I think there's like a just a personal protection or perhaps a boundary there of like, if I spend all of this time making you this lovely knitted item and then you don't appreciate it, right? And sometimes
Mm,
particularly just with the way that our clothing system works and the
mm,
way, I
yeah.
mean, it's like a whole other thing for another time, but people just
Yeah.
don't assign or appreciate the value in
Mm,
each piece, right? And so, um, if that's true for someone in your life, don't feel compelled to give them a
yeah.
hand gift, right?
Yes.
They won't appreciate it, and over time, that will lead to resentment, won't it?
Yes. I think we all can probably point to a time where we lovingly made something and gave something and it wasn't seen, or our effort wasn't seen. And yeah.
Yes. Or even the value of the yarn itself,
Yeah.
like so oftentimes
Yeah.
the cost of the yarn to make a garment can be more expensive than if you just went and purchased the
Oh,
equivalent of that garment, right? Like that's
yes.
very, very common. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so just
Yeah.
just do everybody a favor. Don't set your relationship
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Make something for yourself.
Exactly. Girl,
Hmm.
I just am so pleased that you still have that ridiculous arm knitted cowl.
I
Um,
love it.
Yes. And girl, what are we talking about next time? Next time we are in the next episode, we are
Yeah.
talking our girl,
Our
our favorite
favorite.
knits, our favorite knits
Yes.
from 2024. I'm really
Yes.
looking forward to that episode. I think that
Me
will be
too.
a really interesting one. And I think
Yeah.
kind of how you feel about what you've knit over time can kind of
Mm-hmm.
evolve, right? So sometimes when you're in the midst of the project, it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Or and then when you get to the end, it's like, oh, that was really worth it. And sometimes vice versa, right? Sometimes it's like, oh,
Yes.
I'm needing it, but maybe I'm not actually really wearing it
Yeah.
as much
Yeah.
as I thought I would.
Yeah. I'm excited to see some of your favorite knits. You've made some really interesting things this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, I've had a couple of knitting pattern departures from my
Mm.
so
All right.
all right.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, I will see you next time, and everything will be linked in the show notes. So feel free
Absolutely.
to leave us a comment there. We would love to hear from you. Love to hear where you are living, what your level of knitting expertise is. If you have any questions for us, we welcome it all the feedback. And make sure to like and subscribe so that you get episode 3 just delivered right to you. You don't have to come looking for us.
Wonderful. See you soon.